Good morning, everyone. I am Michael Marcello, and I'm one of the attorneys here at the Department of Child Support Services. And I'm going to be talking to you about a pretty simple and straightforward topic called income withholding orders. This essentially means how children are going to get their child support, and that's really what we're here about today, is serving the families of Ventura County. So, the topic, income withholding order. What is it and what to expect? As a department, the way that we enforce child support orders is primarily through garnishment or income withholding order. So, if an employee of yours has a child support order, you're likely going to receive from us a packet asking you to enforce the order by paying their child support to the California SDU. Now, you'll be hearing from us from time to time if, for any reason, the child support changes or if the child support goes away, and that'll be a termination. There are some important things that you have to do once you receive an income withholding order, but it's pretty simple. It's just three things. One is to give a copy to your employee once you receive it, and that's within 10 days. Two, to actually garnish the child support. And three, to send that to the California State Disbursement Unit. You're going to want to send that payment within 7 days of the employee being paid. Which employee are you garnishing? That's also a really simple process because all you have to do is look at the document you receive to identify which employee of yours has the child support case. There are a lot of really important factors here, such as their name, social security number, date of birth. There are also two really important pieces of information on that paper that will help us know who you're paying on behalf of, and that's their case number and their participant number. Now, we need buy-in from you as the employer because we all share in responsibility for helping the children of Ventura County. And you have some actual law that asks you to do your part in paying the child support by garnishing your employees. One of the things I want to note on this slide is that if you're already using electronic methods for things like EDD or FTB, you're probably also required to submit the child support garnishment electronically. When you send your child support to the SDU, you really have to do your part in identifying your employee. So here's a list of 5 things that you're going to want to include. Their name as it appears on the income withholding order. A lot of times people have nicknames at work, but for these purposes, you're just going to want to use the exact name as it appears on the income withholding order, and then the rest of this information. Number 5 is also really important because their participant ID is the main thing that people look at to associate the payment to the person who is making the payment. Another common question is, how much am I supposed to garnish? The child support is a certain amount, but the way that you pay your employees is different based on every company. The bottom of this screen in the red box gives you an example of 4 different ways that your child support could break out: weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, or monthly, depending on how you pay your employee. Use this as a guide to help you understand how to send the payments to the SDU. There's a very simple formula to determine how much of your employee's wages can be garnished. On the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to look at what's called gross earnings. And this is basically the money that you pay your employee or your 1099 independent contractor. The right side of the screen is what you're going to subtract from the gross earnings. Those are called mandatory deductions. And you'll see a list of some of the common things that are mandatorily required to come out of their gross wages. Then you simply multiply that by 50%, and that gives you what's called disposable income. You're going to want to remember the phrase disposable income because in the next couple slides, we're going to be talking about some examples. This is an example of an employee that has one child support order. That child support order on the right side of the screen is $350, and they owe some back pay, which we commonly refer to as arrears. And they need to pay $50 per month towards the arrears. So we're going to start on the left and say gross earnings for this employee is $1,800. They have mandatory deductions of $200, so you subtract that out in the beginning. Then you multiply $1,600 by 50%. What does that leave? Disposable income, $800. Now, $800 clearly covers $400 because $400 is less. So what will you do? Send to the SDU the full $400 and we'll take it from there. It gets a little more complicated when an employee has multiple child support cases. In this example, there are 2 orders, and they have arrears on both cases. As you'll see on the right side of the screen, they owe $1,150 per month. But in this case, they still make the same amount of money, and the disposable income is $800. What do you do in this case? You send all that is available, which in this case is $800, to the SDU, and we'll do the job of determining how the money gets allocated or, attributed to each of the child support cases. A lot of times, employees have a lot of things going on in their lives and they may have garnishments from other sources. In California, child support typically comes first in terms of payments. You'll see at the bottom of the screen, there's a little asterisk regarding federal levies. If you received a federal levy before you received the garnishment request, then you would pay the levy first, but typically child support comes first. One of the things that we want to remember is that garnishment for child support is not a punishment, and it doesn't mean that an employee has done something bad. So employers should not punish them for simply having a child support payment. This is a list of things that an employer cannot do to an employee just because they have child support. We really want to stress the importance of paying on time because, again, we're trying to make sure that children have consistent child support throughout their lives. And it's your job to help us make sure that happens by making sure that when the garnishment occurs, that you send it in on time and don't sit on it for 2 or 3 pay periods. And one of the things that you'll want to make sure to do is think about your employee when you're processing the payment. If you send it in late, they may get their driver's license suspended, interest might accrue on their account, and you also want to remember to protect yourself and your business, because if you decide that you don't want to follow the court order to pay the child support, then action can be taken against you. But of course, the department wants to work with you, not against you, so we'll do everything that we can to make sure that this is as easy as possible. Another thing that you'll get from time to time is a document called a wage and insurance verification form. This helps families by explaining to a court and to the agency how much your employee is making right now and whether or not health insurance is available. It really helps us understand how their case is going, and it also helps your employees in case their child support isn't accurate. So if you turn it into us regularly and on time, we'll be able to help your employees. If for any reason your employee no longer works for your company, just let us know. Send in notification that the employee terminated, and if you have any updated contact information or where that employee went to, feel free to let us know, because it, again, will help us serve their case. One of the main issues that happens when employees have child support cases is that the employer wants to help the employee. And sometimes child support is high, so employers have a lot of questions about that. But unfortunately, the law requires us to keep this case information private. The only thing that we can talk to you about as the employer are things like the income withholding order or the request for health insurance, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on today. There are a number of ways that employers such as you can make your payments for your employees. There are electronic methods and there are paper methods such as checks. So this is a list on the left of 2 methods for electronic payments, and on the right is if you're going to do it by paper. Send the check to the SDU at the mailing address. And of course, as a reminder, make sure to include all the identifying information located on the right side of the screen to make sure that your employee gets credit for the payments that they're making. Now, here's a slide about the benefits of electronic payments. Always remember, of course, if you're required to do electronic payments for other sources such as FTB, you're probably required to do it here as well. But reducing errors and making things faster is always a good thing. So if an electronic option is possible for your company, I encourage you to use it. Now, ACH credit is a little bit more complex, and this is typically the form that you would use if you're using a payroll company or something where your financial institution is the main source of how you help your employees with garnishments. Your main resource here is www.casdu.com, and the reason I'm referring to it is because it contains a lot of information for enrolling in this program, as well as the employer handbook. I took a look at it this morning just to make sure it's all there, and there's a 20-page document which might be daunting at first, but it does walk you through how EFT and ACH credit registration works. I am a lawyer, not an accountant, so I would defer to anyone who is in your payroll department or HR to walk you through that. So once you've gone on to the website, you can determine whether or not you want to enroll online or if you'd rather have them send you a paper form. And there's a way that you can call the SDU and they'll send you out a form. Now, once you receive the form, what you'll do is you'll fill it out and return it to the SDU by fax, email, or regular mail. And all of those options are listed on this screen. Part of the ACH credit program is something called a test file, which you have to work with your financial institution to set up. It's a little bit more complex than just reading this screen. So again, I encourage you to go to the CASDU website and look at the employer handbook to walk you and your company through the process to work with the financial institution to create this test file. The other option that a lot of people take a look at is the ACH debit process, and this is basically an online payment that's made on the CASDU website. What you'll really have to do is just simply register online and then make your payments through the CASDU website. Registration is very simple. Once you access the website, you'll click on the employer button and then you'll click register now. You'll create an electronic account where you can create your own username and password that's unique to your company. And once you've submitted that, you'll be able to make payments. So this is an example of how you can make payments on the website. You'll click make a payment. You'll fill out all the information related to the employee that you're making a payment for. And then once you're ready to submit, you'll be presented this screen called Verify Payment. Everything that you have input onto the website is listed on the Verify Payment screen. So this will be a great chance for you to either submit the payment if everything's right, or modify it, or if for any reason you have to cancel and do it a little later, that's an option too. A great resource here through the online payment form is that you can save this as a template to save you and your company time for employees to make payments in the future. If you ever have any troubleshooting problems or just want to get in contact with the SDU, we recommend using these resources to get in contact with them. They do have a help desk that is dedicated to helping employers make sure that their employees can make their payments timely.